Hey, what's up? Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you all. So, I want to go through some of the energies that are so apparent right now. They are so strong, but we must enter into them with real intent and caution because one, they are an opportunity, I feel, to bring about more balance here, to bring about more groundedness here, to bring about more connectedness here, to rebalance the scales quite a lot. With that extreme, there is always the other end of the pendulum. And that extreme is that, if we don't surf these energies for all they're worth, and by saying that, I mean doing that with wisdom and applying intent to that wisdom, then we are, really digging in deep to energies that a lot of us say we're trying to transmute. So I wanted to go through what's happening right now in the UK. You've probably heard about these WhatsApp messages. Now, this energy's been coming out for quite some time, in that we've had police messages that have been leaked about groups on WhatsApp that police officers have made. So they're officers within a system, but then going off into these very extreme little groups. And now we see that Parliament's been doing that over the last 2-3 years, more so, but in particular right then. And we've seen some different emails and messages from social services and all of these systems that are dictating what is done with the energies here right now, and have done for far too long as it is. So I'm just going to share the screen. You're all going to laugh at yeah, okay, so I share screen. So we're going to go to Sketchbook Pro. Sorry, they're going quiet. So as we share the screen here, I've put some things out already. So let me get comfortable, working on posture. So these WhatsApp messages that have been leaked in particular over the last few days are leaked by a woman called Isabel Oakeshott, I think it is, or Berkshot. Either way, they've been leaked. This woman had co-written or authored the COVID diaries that Matt Hancock, sorry, you probably can see that. If you can see the huge purple cursor, I figured out how to change the color of the cursor the other day. Somehow I've enlarged it to such a degree, and I can't find my way back to where I was to get that fixed. So if you can see that, that's on me. So these WhatsApp messages that have been coming out over the last few days have been leaked by this woman who co-authored, I don't really know, these COVID diaries with Matt Hancock. Now, these messages are over 100,000. They're in huge numbers. I figure she already works with the Telegraph also. She's a journalist, a political journalist, it seems. So that's the paper of choice that she has, and I find that ironic for the similarities we'll go into later. This is where she's leaked this information to. Now, though she signed a non-disclosure, whatever it is, about the book, these messages are so bad and in such plentiful numbers that she has released them under the guise of them being in the public interest, directly affecting the public, and that the public have a right to know. So that's where she's getting her cover from for that. Now, in a way, it's a very brave step. In another way, we all have to take those brave steps, and it matters not really. This is just for backstory. Who shared them? they are there. They've been put into this physical realm, and it's because they are representing a truth that is within a lot of people that are in power over us and that are puppeting through these different laws and mandates to ultimately hand over more power than these 13 lines have ever had before. It would seem to hand that over. They are puppets for hire. And so that's where the premise of this video comes from. It's these messages that one way or another have been leaked and they are getting out into the public. These messages are so disgusting and they're so representative of what is within these people that are in power that leaks out of them like goo. And that's why they can't help but gloat about it. So we've got very similar energies in that with the police groups that came up, the parliament groups that came up, they are mirror image of the same energies. So groups of like-minded people coming together to create a more extreme group. So a group within a system, to feel superior over others. We've had stories that have broken, such as police taking pictures of those poor, beautiful young girls who were murdered before or while they were doing their procedures and laughing about those images on these private WhatsApp groups. We've seen with the police messages where there are numerous officers that are nicknaming each other R, hashtag PED, or sorry, not that's the D, take away the D, that they do that kind of thing or fantasize about that kind of thing towards women. We have had them where they have shared messages where they're mocking the public and vice versa. That is exactly the same. They are a carbon copy of the same energies, and they do this to feel their superiority over others. Now, during these last 2 years, these two systems have fed. Indeed, these parliamentary messages highlight messages where they have described how they have brought in these police officers, supposedly a totally separate system that is there to serve the people, not government. And these messages prove that they are also a system for hire, security for hire. A government gives them, with no scientific or any other ethical standing or moral standing, a decree that they will get rough over the public. Now, where some police officers just continue to try and do their job, of course, groups within these groups were more than happy to pass down punishment to the people they're meant to represent or meant to protect and serve. And so they took great glee in that. So both sets of these messages show the same energies of this real feeling of superiority, drunk on power energy in a way that is overwhelming to them. They've become ravenous with it. They've wanted more of it. And so extreme behavior we've seen more complaints about the extreme behavior of mayors, like the Mayor of London, of other politicians, and also the extreme behavior of police officers that, like the parliamentary groups, have become ravenous with this power and literally drunk on the fear and the guilt and the money that they are making. So it's a very distorted, very uncomfortable image for me when I put it into my spiritual side. It's very conjoined. It's very it's just not nice. So the extreme behavior is being coming out. And then we see with these messages on both sides that they demonize and objectify others. The way that police officers were talking in particular about women, but people of different also skin colors to them. The way that the parliamentary members have demonized and sent messages about using the press to do so, to demonize others that just want to go about life, just want to be free and have their own free will. So, and the objectifying of others, that even their own work colleagues on either side of this spider graph here, that, you know, the way that they've objectified women in particular is disgusting, but also children. And so that is very much a carbon copy also of that behavior. So these energies are completely the same. They're of the same blueprint, of the same vibration. And so the ritual humiliation, just like those pictures of those beautiful young girls, and the humiliation that even their dead bodies received after their death in these extreme groups, the ritual humiliation of the glee that these messages in Parliament have shown, that these parliamentary members, Matt Hancock and all the other senior ministers that he is messaging in this one big message thread, Parliament done through WhatsApp, they go on about risking the country, but I mean, they're using WhatsApp to do business, but yet they tell us they can't tell us things because of national security, or they lock people up for telling the truth or leaking the truth under the threat of national security. Anyway, so this ritual humiliation has been a big one, where these messages on either side will show, again, this ravenous behavior, this revelry in the ritual humiliation of others. In that they are laughing at us regarding the people that they have got us listening to on the ground, laughing at us for falling for something that is so blatantly a lie on numerous occasions, doing different gestures on mainstream media to show that they are humiliating the people that they are paid to serve. So that has been a big one. The misogyny is just out of control in these groups, in these messages. And these are the ones that we get to see. The sheer disrespect and disdain for women. And we've seen this also with what is being played out, where the deletion of women is happening, even down to our physical attributes that allow our bodies to do certain things like breastfeeding and giving birth is being stripped away and replaced by a complete illusion. So the divine feminine in the form of woman is getting threatened, terribly so. The divine feminine and understanding of that, inner standing of that, being a part of that in the male population, is also causing devastation for relationships, for all of those building blocks of life. So the misogyny has been huge and rife. And as I say, in these back channels, in these groups, in these chats, these so-called security systems of the people have been doing this on WhatsApp. So they are being so bold, again, because they are drunk on such power right now. They are absorbing the amount of power by being puppeted, that they are like an intoxicated slave to its master right now, happy to dance for their kings and queens in these bloodlines, happy to perform, happy to symbolize their acknowledgement of their power. They are drunk on this servitude and drunk on causing others to then be servants to them. So that has been huge. The revelry, like I've kept repeating, in the harm to others is obvious. Literally chanting and laughing and you know, when people have been locked up or fined for things that these messages and other people like myself have said from before they even started this pandemic, that, you know, the revelry in the harm to others is almost unspeakable. They are drunk, they are intoxicated, they are possessed in this revelry of causing harm towards others, unspeakable, unthinkable harm. While the ritual humiliation, going back to that, in their speeches, they are saying they're going to fix this harm, knowing that you're going to give consent to a lie, because somewhere they're so bold and obvious, they're telling you the truth of their actions. They're showing you the truth of their actions. And part of that ritual humiliation is for all of those that fail to continue to see it, is where they get this real kick of power. So we've got the silencing of others, totally the same blueprint energies, it's totally the same energetic fingerprint, if you like. This wanting and will and gloating about the silencing of others, stripping people of their titles that they've worked hard for, stripping people of their kudos, their respect, doxing people, doing everything they can while stating they are being silenced, while stating they've got their hands tied, playing the victim to this, but actually the silencing of others has been another extreme one. The chipping away of the freedom of speech and intuition and feeling has been a big squash, and these messages show this on both sides of these groups. And again, these are just two examples of the different systems within the system that we live under, and the groups that are then in them, like the cells, if you like, of a body. So this could be put to many others, social services, NHS, of course it could be, because they're all following the same energetic footprints to attain their different parts of the plan. So it's been a fungus takeover for sure. And so this is also where we go into the profiteering from crisis, fear, lack, and guilt. There has been huge amounts of profiteering in that these big bloated jobs within the police station or of roles that we've never needed and certainly don't need now. They're certainly not the priority. We also see that in the NHS, but we've also seen that in Parliament. Not just the pay increases, but the backhanders that they receive, not from people that are around them, but literally from banks, from those that have profiteered the most, like Soros, like Gates, like those higher echelons above these parts of the system. The profiteering has been immense and equal to all of the other energies I've gone through already, in that it's been the biggest up pay to them in financial history, in emotional history, because it's cost them their mental health, because they've gotten so drunk on this power and this distortion. And it's cost many others that have been affected by their actions, and indeed by their own actions, where their mental health is broken, their spirit is gone. They are the source of that up pay, that energetic, physical, emotional, financial, spiritual up pay to these people that are represented in groups like this in places of power. So they don't feel any guilt about this. They don't feel any guilt about ordering a ton of tests because they've made some promise off the back of something, and now they've got to sort of do the back work to say that they really had thought that through. And like Matt Hancock ordering 21,000 extra tests from Amazon just so he could prove that a delivery had gone through that night, and to go nowhere, to test for what? So there is no guilt of the immense profiteering that these people have personally gotten, the backhanders, to follow certain agendas and to play their part and say their lines, to break the people, because these few are too few. they're going to need a very broken Western Front to attain the power that they want over that Western Front and beyond. So this is a huge one: profiteering from crisis, lack, guilt, and fear. So the next one is dividing people and shutting down proposals that bring unity. Making sure to break things up that are looking like they're going to be getting together, like active groups that actually do mean what they say, that want to be charitable in some way or another, or active plans or proposals that would actually do the people some good being blocked and silenced. Actively silencing colleagues that don't fit the narrative of these globalists above these systems. And so they're very actively silenced and doxed and lied about. The truth is distorted through the media. So the next thing is, and that's a crucial one, because it's the divide and conquer, right? Even within these systems, divide and conquer. Get some extreme people in there with extreme views on sexual abuse and whatnot. I went and said the words, which is ridiculous. They've even taken away the words of the true victims of these energies. So you can see here what is written. They're both surrounded by accusations and proofs of this, in particular to women and children, but not limited to. No, I'm not saying that for 1 minute. And so they are surrounded by the same energies, the same accusations, the same litigations, literally. And that goes back to one of the reasons they work so hard to silence others, because it's these types of truths that a lot of people in the movement have been saying. This truth, when it comes out, this truth will do it. When it comes out, no, it's this one. Oh, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. I meant this one. You know, it's like, no, it's not how it's going to work. And so, because people aren't ready to see. So we're going to look at these energies and what they've portrayed by doing something that would be constructive. Because I want to talk about the law of oneness, the connection, the laws of the universe apply here. And when there is such noise and clatter and distraction, it is very difficult sometimes to get into those spaces to remember the laws of the universe and to apply them to bring some order to the chaos that has ensued with all of these out of control energies, but very limited energies. So I want to look at the different laws that I feel really apply here. They all do, but that we can really use to actually do something with this energy that is constructive and is useful going forward, useful for growth, useful for balance, and useful for infusing the love back in this space more than it already is on the underground. Let it be, let there be light, literally love light. You know, it's sounds corny, but that is what is needed. So going back to the basics that aren't really basics at all, they are foundational, they are building blocks of how we apply ourselves with wisdom and intent. So to go into that a little bit further down the line, I just want to bring in, how do I move this? I just want to bring in something. Where is it? Here. So Telegram messages. And I'm just going to quickly go through this, that these Telegram messages represent, oh, no, I'm on the wrong one. No, I don't want that. Okay. So these Telegram messages literally can be put here. Now, they represent the different messaging and social medias that are amongst the people, which is ludicrous, I know, because they're being utilized or even created by the powers that be that are above all of these systems right now. So these Telegram messages, could the same energies apply amongst people against their own people. We have got groups that say they are a part of the movement, but that whole movement was a psyop. The whole of that London stage at that protest, everybody on that stage is part of that psyop, whether they know it or not. And those people on that stage are either further down the ladder or working closely with, like the likes of the Orsini family. So they go straight back to the Vatican. And so again, this has been the biggest up-pay spiritually, energetically, financially, in all ways, the biggest up-pay to these systems that have been in power and control for too long. And so these grifters, if you like, the same as the grifters in Parliament, the grifters in the police, that are there not to do the role, but there for a means to an end for their own requirements, the distorted requirements that either sexual proclivities that they have, and being in that space of power gives them the power to do that and get away with it more often, or even get more of a kick from doing the same thing because they are in this authoritative uniform and actually getting paid to do what they're doing, and then going back into their extreme groups within their big group system and having that group think, becoming drunk on it and feeding each other's ego with it. That is happening in Telegram. And there are various different grifters, like various different parliamentarians that are representing these different groups. Many of them, like the political parties, they are mirrored. These grifters are wanting to apply or have been or are applying for the likes of MP or local councillor positions. They have either been in the system and of the system, or they have deep connections to them, or they have a longing to be in the system. And they are there, like the parliamentary members, like the police on the streets, to make it easier to section off extreme groups with different extreme proclivities, and do it exactly the same way government did, under the guise of, we're doing this for you, this is for you, and touting their political logos that they don't even realize are of the powers that be, that are way above these systems. And so that's part of the ritual humiliation. So they, in Telegram, were under their apps, but just this is what I've been in closer contact with, are having these back rooms of thousands, hundreds of thousands of messages going back and forth that represent the exact same abuse that we were going through before. All of these being, transferable completely, almost identically to the Telegram groups. So this law of oneness applies in that it is that as above, so below. So they are still mirroring the same behavior that they say they hate, they say they fear, but then go and seek it out from what they feel is a different direction, but still giving off the same energetic vibrations. And so as above, so below applies here. As within, so without applies here. These grifters are able to do what they do because they are these people. They are these people. They want to have the systems of power, control, guilt, and profiteering, from crisis of all of that and above. And they want the title and authority to do so. They just want it to be them, that's all. It's no different. It's no cure to these powers that they say they're fighting, because they are those powers they say they are fighting. They are deeply vibrationally resonant with another. They're resonating with one another. They are of those same energies. We are connected to this, which is why it's worth our while not to go into the snake pits, to be bitten and be distracted by the various different bites, because these people, like these people in the systems, are just as ready to jump. It's a job. They have people on it. They have volunteers on it. They think they are believing in a cause through fear and guilt and control. They have a donatory, so they're profiteering more than they ever have before. They have a drive. They're getting accolade. And there are paid people. You can see that the way that they're doxing people, the way that they all troll similarly. It's amazing to see that the same stupid emojis and ridiculous comments that seek to harm others. Where is that one? It doesn't matter. To harm others and to ritually humiliate others, to lie and manipulate the truth is a complete carbon copy. The parliamentary members are sharing emojis and literally calling each other poo-poo head. I think that came from Boris to somebody. I mean, these people are regressed. They are regressed in their own inner traumas, so much so that this is like an MK Ultra in that the grifters on either side, above and below, are of the same side because they often have felt different. Then they get filled with this superiority after being broken, and so the superiority is a longing that they have, and then the opportunity arises. They're the same energies. They're very connected. Now, of course, that means they are connected to us. So while we don't want to jump in the snake pit to be distracted, we have to be the observers. We want to be the observers. So let's make this an observatory and let's observe the energies. We've already spoken about how they are the same blueprint through and through. And now we're transferring that from the above here to the as above, so below completely. We don't even need to duplicate this writing and put it in a list here. It is absolutely the same. And they absolutely want the same effect with these energies that they're placing onto others and to themselves. It's carbon copy. So below, and as within, so without. So they have attracted extremists, extreme people that have been jolted by fear, but have not done the inner work. They've not done the shadow work. They're good at sharing the memes of it, but they don't know the depths and the trenches that you do go through in spirituality, especially in a realm that has been very unbalanced for a very long time. It's deep, it's raw, it's tiresome sometimes, and invigorating and blissful, and all of those other things too. But they have not done that inner work, but they're being pummeled by propaganda. That propaganda includes tricking them to think they're having some huge big awakening, but limiting that to just a meme that just gives you the surface level knowledge and not the deeper nuances of that knowledge and the wisdom of how to apply it. And again, not being able or feeling like they're able or having guides that are equipped to help with that inner work and that journey from within the hermit. So they've attracted like-minded people that, just like these systems, you've got the pro-police, you've got pro-parliament, and you've got pro this side Labour, pro this side Tory. That is a system, a blueprint that they have lived by. They do this with religion. And you've got this in the below category in that they've got just a similar memo of how they go about attracting in extreme energies. And of course, for those that aren't staying hooked in this system and had a slight jolt, have jumped out of the frying pan and into the red hot, I want it red hot fire, because just like before, with the same conditioning, same inner work that has not been done, that these people had them hooked in line and sinker. These people represent the same energies. They say they don't, but they are what they act out, what they put out to others. You've got people in these Telegram groups. I've mentioned the misogyny. You've got people in these Telegram groups gloating for having played a part in having somebody sectioned. You've got people lying about expertise. You've got people manipulating the truth, taking other people's wisdom and knowledge and putting it out as their own without the greater understanding of what that knowledge means, without being able to interpret it. They've profiteered hugely. A lot of nobodies becoming somebodies in small little groups, relatively small. They've been given the go-ahead. They've been initiated. They've been approached and initiated. And again, the London stage was there to absorb as many people, like the religious sponge, the political sponge, the pro-punishment sponge, and the not pro of that. So they've literally jumped from the pan into the fire, and everybody on that London stage represented a hope for these people. But that inner work that had not been done within these people, clinging for some hope in their moment of fear, a lot of them unfortunately were absorbed, just like the political party, by these grifters that they're so afraid to stand alone. They're very easily absorbed again, so they haven't gone far away from the same trauma that kept them in these systems for the longest time. So it's an absolute mirror reflection of what is happening. The same people will be in glee and gloating about these messages now, but these messages in this aspect are just as bad, if not worse. The level of depravity is unreal, the level of threats, the openness about approaching or gang stalking somebody's home is unprecedented. It's a pit of inequity, and it's just dirty. So let's get clean again and go back to those universal laws and how we would apply them here. So to feed oxygen onto this fire, to blow on these flames, is to garner your consent right now, and to give them a level of energetic kickback at all is something that you realize is going to stoke the fire of illusion for those that are connected to you, but not of the same vibration. They're not resonating at the same energy as you. But if you even go in with good intent and truth right now to this pit of energy, it's a mosh pit right now that's happening of energy. If you're to go into that group, even if you are speaking and blowing wisdom and nurturing and compassionate truths, if you were to go in with good intent to get the truth out there, but either way, no matter how you look at it energetically, you are entering into a compact with these people to feed the energy, to give them this level of importance with love in this law of oneness. It would be to not feed a fire what a fire needs, and that is the oxygen. That is the source of life for this fire right now. In that, if we are to breathe on it, no matter how much good intent we have, we are to grow it. And while that might feel good to go in there and breathe these truths on that air, and what we feel are the wisdoms behind those truths, it might feel good for a moment. It is a momentary kickback. And then we start to lower ourselves into the energies that we've just discussed, in that there is a revelry in harm, because we're not looking at this from a law of oneness, a law of connectedness. We're looking at this from a law of separation and a law of that is distorted, and it's an illusion. We can never be separate too. We're always all going to be a part of everything living and vibrating here is. And so while it might feel good for a moment to, you know, get that truth out, to give them a little kick in the teeth, it's not going to do you any good, because either way you're going to have to enter into that pit, and you're going to have to lower your frequency, the resonance that you're holding. You're going to have to lower it. When I was in this, I've had to fight out energetically, because I've had so many entities coming at me, because I came at these people. I didn't come at these people, they came at me. And trying to respond in a safe way with 2 kids at home and an older daughter at home and at mum's, it's, you know, it was difficult. And I had to fight to say, oh, no, this has never been a frequency that I resonate with. This is depraved. This is, and no matter how much you say you're fighting this, basically all I see is you putting out images that represent this, that are triggering to this, that make these kind of posters with children's faces okay. I'm not going to share things like that. I'm not going to bring that vibration down. I'll observe and bring attention to an energy that needs to be corrected, but I'm going to approach it to say, how can I correct that energy within me? Because I can't do anything about the free will of these people that want to mirror, for whatever their personal agenda, the very systems that have kept us in this mess for so long. I can't do anything about that. To stomp on their fire is to stomp on me. All I can do is take the oxygen away from that, in that I'm going to put those truths, those wisdoms, in a place that they can be carried. They can be like waves on a shore, lapping and reconnecting with people who are ready to have eyes and ears to feel and see my vibration and the actions behind that vibration, and hopefully the wisdom that underpins all of that action and thought process. So, and it's difficult because these people are in a frenzy right now. And so there's nothing that they won't throw at you to try and hook you in, to bring you down, to give oxygen to their fire, to bring relevance to their game. So it is a fight to rise up from that fire and take the oxygen elsewhere. And this is where the narrow path comes in, isn't it? Where there will be only but a few. And the very people that say they are of this rule are picking and choosing which parts of the universal laws they want, and the different esoteric knowledges that have came about with that, the writings. You know, only the few shall pass, in that it is very difficult to rise above these distractionary bites with venom in them that are, you know, meant to take you out, to take you down. These people will never know, some of them, and a lot of them do not know for sure right now, that actually by their actions that they've been initiated and triggered and MK ultra'd into doing through, you know, massage of ego, a witch trip here, a prophet trip there, a invite here and invite there that they would never have usually had, a grant here, a grant there, that are directly tied. They're buying you up. But they'll never understand. They come in at this table to eat and get merry and fat, the same table that these people are at, and they don't realize that at the end they are dessert. In that, people who are able to fight through these distractionary bites and take this narrow path, these are the people that wouldn't dream of doing the same actions that have been threatened within this fire. And the same people that sit back and think, you know what, I'm not hating, I'm not casting that out, so it's coming back on me. But mostly still having that ability to say, what am I doing to source energy when I want to be the destroyer? Even if it is the destroyer with whatever good intent, if I want to go in and destroy in a way that is of harm to others, to enter into war, to enter into a battle, then these vibrationary beings, human or not, that again, that's part of the distraction, important to observe sometimes, but part of the distraction. If I seek to do that, they are a fractal of this source energy, of this vibratory, living, connected energy, then if I go ahead with that, if I don't take this narrow path and bring a different way of bringing observation and knowledge to these energies and how we ride them, if I don't bring frequency of love into this space, I can't be casting out hate, no matter how badly these people here that are in this fire, creating this fire here, you know, that they are, that it's the same fire, it's the same camp, they're just at different levels. If I want to do that, I'm becoming a part of the vibrationary frequency of this, still connected, still as one, but I have to become like them, because you can't section yourself off enough to say, I'm manifesting love, I'm taking the narrow path, and I'm manifesting bliss, love, peace, balance, all of those things. I can't do that and simultaneously be of and part of this fire. And to fight it in the way that it's been fought is with great intent, but always is going to stoke that fire, because oxygen, the power of your word is powerful. And so if you are adding back or giving a similar energy back from a different space completely, but that same energy comes out, then there's got to be a place where you're shelving some level of hate or disdain, and you can't manifest these abundantly when you've got shelves of you're mixing it all the time, so you can't keep things compartmentalized that much energetically wise. The waves are lapping up at each other all the time, so are you with your auric field. It's circulating all the time. You can't keep things compartmentalized to say that you want to be part of this, but then you want to be part of this, because these people in this fire will claim to want to burn witches, will claim to want to RAPPE, you know, people, women, will claim to want to degrade, to protect women while degrading them, to harm children. So to bring the same type of harm, you have to become a part of it. So to do that is to lower the frequency. When you lower your frequency, of course, that's going to have effect on the other universes all around you within the separate auric fields of people and things. It's going to bring that vibration down. So ultimately, we've been battling for far too long with the supremacy of these energies and the overabundance of these energies through a source. And what is powerful about these energies? Why have they been in power for so long? Well, that is because they are very good at staying connected. The powers that be that are above all of these is that control these, that puppet these, is that they are, how do I want to put it? They are in a way of no, how did I want to put it? Narrow path, go in the narrow path. They are connected. They have stolen that knowledge and harnessed it and taken great pains to humiliate it and demonize it while using it right in your face through religion, but that's a very controlled way of using great esoteric knowledge that is applicable to all things, like the universal laws. And they understand that. So they are very tight. They are in these tight little groups, and they do have each other's back. You've got in Telegram, you know, the whole, let's say, typical Britain first, bald-headed Englishman. Because I don't want to get too specific. I don't want to give it that. In the Telegram side, and you know, they're very connected. They'll jump on each other's back to protect the narrative, to protect the agenda, because they know that they are maybe against each other because they want to be each other. They want to absorb and take over and be the one. So where they dislike each other, they'll still work together. These people above them all insist upon that. They insist there's a level, there's a line that you don't cross, because to cross that line is to cross yourself, because you've been sharing the same messages, you have the same views, you've taken the same actions, etc., etc. And so, again, if we are to lower ourselves to the frequency to go into that pit of the fire, and get into the distractionary battle, then we are negating the connectedness and the fact that we need to raise the resonance so that these people either stay in their pit and their pit slowly gets smaller because there's no oxygen, they can't breathe. You know, remember that one? Hold on, that's not the right one. So the oneness, the connectedness, sorry, I was trying to find the rubber. We take that away to a higher resonance. Now, to do that, we cannot be distracted by the energies that are in this fire, because those energies are counterproductive to these energies here. So you can't have them both together. They're interconnected. So to take away the resonance is to raise this resonance and either force these people that are insisting on being the vibration represented by this fire to either raise their frequency and come seek that knowledge from a different source, to see what it's all about, to, you know, discover self within that. Then that's how we are actually going to pull more phoenixes out of the fire, so to speak, and aid them on their way of their own personal journey to heal these inner wounds properly, that these tricks and traits of these gang stalking groups that the powers that be have used for as long as we can remember, via these different systems that they label like religion, politics, the alternative even, and replicate it. Now, one of the things that these powers that be knew is that they needed to be in control of media to push the message forward constantly, to pummel the magic, the algorithm, to trigger and prompt people to become a part of any of these extreme groups that would demonize others who are just going on their way, their merry way, unmasked, you know, unaffected by those rules, because they know more of self in the resonance that they carry. The resonance that they carry, that reality of where these lies that these people spewed out and made laws and mandates do not apply, because they're not of the same frequency. It's like they're passing through this red line and blue line like in a yellow. They're not of the same color frequency. They don't hit, they might go through, but they're transmuting through at the very least, and which is why you need that middle path, because hopefully you get enough transmutions through that, you know, this the message of this higher frequency of love, balance, wholeness, and all of those things start to leak into the territory that would demonize those on this middle narrow path of connectedness and understanding of oneness. And understanding that while it might feel good to win some of these battles, that is what has had us in this repetitive loop cycle for too long, of this power and control, because we keep getting enticed to move down rather than observe and bring attention to this loop, this cycle continues, because it is quite enticing to go down there and whip them with some knowledge and kick them up the backside with some wisdom and put a firecracker of truth between their teeth. Of course, that's invigorating sometimes and very tempting when these people come back after loved ones, but not only that, just come after the wider scales in this realm, that knowing this law of one, of connectedness, of vibration. We actually would just prefer that they just weren't doing it at all, rather than even having any sort of vulgar fantasies about what we would do to them, because then we just drop into their energy. And again, who's raising the scales then? Who's raising the resonance then? That all of these various memes are trolling out all of the time. They're not even touching the sides of these resonance. They're keeping you in the fire, so to speak, because you're still enlightened, and a little bit of knowledge without wisdom is harmful, for sure. So this is to say that we have to raise the resonance, and that's very difficult, because like I said, it's invigorating and enticing to dip into that fire and whoop some truth up in there and feel the heat of it, and pour some ice into it. It's that, of course it is. You can hear almost speaking about it. Of course it is, especially when they threaten your own. But again, we have to raise above that, knowing this law, this universal law of connectedness, having such reverence for source energy and the way that it is fractalized out in all of these individual journeys to vibrate that message, the frequency, that music of the universe back to the various avenues and canals to source energy. Then ultimately we are to say that if we want to harm others, whoever those others might be, if we want to harm them in a way that is completely unnecessary, or feels good, or any reason, then we are to look at source, to look at the divine that is able to create and project with such imagination and such potentials. We are willing to throw arrows into that, to feel good, to win these mini battles, to feel like we've made a name for ourselves, doing that. We infuse the truth, and just like the chemtrails that the powers that be shower above us, not only in chemical ways, but in ways of knowing exactly how to set up these groups and how to invigorate the disdain for others and the feeling of supremacy over others, just like they rain that down on us and have it be us having to absorb that energy. This is what walking that middle path and raising this resonance in great enough numbers to these values, as above, so below. It will trickle down, and it will do more to put out that fire than any stoking of it with truth, going into the pit to give it that oxygen. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that opens up then the discussion for us to look at the consequences of this. And the consequences right now, the energies are declaring and demanding right now that, from the astrological points of view to the energies around us and within us, they are demanding disclosure. They are demanding a freedom of information, a slew of proofs, if you like. So yes, again, it might be invigorating to jump into these truths, to say, I told you that, I told you this, I told you, you know, and feel that superior, again, dipping back into their own energies. And it's different from being the observer and the proclaimer and the manifester than being in the ego so much that you dip into these energies. But as above, so below, as within, so without. This is where, when we are up here, when we are raising this frequency so much, you can only do that, which is why this is the narrow path. Like building the vertebrae of a spine, you can only do that by being squeezed at either side, right now especially, from very very extreme and very determined peoples on either side of you. On either side of you. The movement was not a movement of the people, it was a planned program and planned mirror image of parliament, of police. You've had more policing of the people that they say these grifters, like the politicians, stand with. You've had more policing of one another and of people who might ask questions, who might make observations that would question the motives behind what they say or what they do. There's been more policing. There's been more, again, just like Parliament used the police for hire to come down heavy or frighten people. Again, personally had that done to me. I had a police officer knock on the door from a call from people who'd gang stalked my house. So they didn't care, but they, you know, saying I'd committed suicide, woke William up, frightened the life out of him. Me having to convince this officer that I haven't harmed myself, I'm not going to, at 1:30, I think it was in the morning, certainly the early hours. And so again, they've done more policing, just like the political parties. They've lied and coerced and used the police as an arm for their own authority. When they say they fight this, in particular, they're always calling them, the police, calling them names. So these people don't even like each other, but they use each other. And so you're constantly getting bombarded at either side. And you just want to hope that you can keep your strength and your wisdom to continue to use those holes that are put in you energetically from these arrows that fly either side of you as you walk this middle path, this balanced scale path, that instead of it wounding you, that you continue to stay strong enough to use it like light leaks, like light load code leaks, that your knowledge and wisdom through your maintaining of the middle path and get into and holding these frequencies up here, that these light leaks become greater and greater and greater, so that we can widen that middle path, so that we can make it an easier path for the children coming up after us, that they have more comrades either side of them to help hold the scales up. It takes energy, it takes intent to hold scales up like this, especially amongst the midst of such organized chaos by a few. So it is about reaching that glass ceiling of these powers that be and pushing through that. And that is more of the walk of the one, in that you're going back to source with an energy that you wouldn't be ashamed. You're not walking back into source energy of self with dirty feet. You can't do that. That's disrespecting self and everything else that represents self, which is everything. Your children, your loved ones, your animals, everything. So I think that covers that for now. what I would call to this is a observational dialogue, to demand an observational dialogue, to keep putting out there energetically and through action the proofs of the lies, in a way of they're telling people they're not capable of sharing, find ways to share. They're telling people that they're not capable to grow their own food locally, so that these lack manipulations can't happen. Well, find ways and means to set up things and believe me, it's not easy because you're getting squeezed at either side. Anything that would be for unity is squeezed hard, but do it anyway, of finding a way that people learn how to garden, or like the Japanese teach their children to garden and eat what they grow. Find ways to prove the lies wrong by taking action in the direction of showing the growth, showing the ability to move past the lack and the fear and the worry and the torment, to use these energies to really shine the light, to really rain energetic oneness onto everything, including these energy sources. And it's difficult, but open forum questions, then to even if the politicians or these grifters don't want to come and don't want to have honest dialogue about where the agendas are, how is that true, how is that not true, not in a humiliating way, in a way that ministers show you every day in Parliament, where they have this dialogue. Even if they don't attend, we find ways to make it go viral, where we just stand up and ask posters of these people the questions that are very obvious now, that we can use their own words to ask and observe their answers. Again, that will help people seek this resonance. It'll help people move away from the two sources of energy that are of one with you, but that are attacking you, like your own immune system attacking you. So to lessen that squeeze, the silence to these answers even would be golden, in that, you know, it's the question that is important. The silence is deafening. And it brings space and time for these people to move into this space and time, this frequency that you've been holding alongside others, which in turn, instead of falling to stomp them out, you are actually correctively healing parts of the collective while healing yourself, becoming more whole, more one with self, closer to source, because then these arrows start moving that way. Because the more wider this path becomes, the less people are here to do this, or here to do this, or here to do this. And this is where we will find that people on the whole, when they're not being puppeted by these triggers and conditions and controls and buttons that we've had ingrained into our DNA for so long, that actually we're quite peaceable people. That is absolutely a point proved already. Because the things that the people who walk amongst the people have been saying and doing to people, they're still walking around safely. We're very peaceable people. We're very reasonable people en masse in general, when we're not being triggered into spaces, when we're not allowing ourselves to be triggered into spaces where we can be controlled and manipulated and corralled. And so the same goes where that energy here, it no longer is there the money in it or the accolade, or they really have to ritually humiliate themselves. The less following that they have, the worse that humiliation for their paycheck gets. So again, they squeeze themselves. Ultimately, this would be to put out these fires that continue to burn from within us. But it's not as above, so below, and as below, so above. This is mirrored amongst us because it's still in enough of us to want these things in one way or another, to still want to battle with them or to actually do them. There's too many. These people in these groups are only reflective where the powers that be have watched the creational processes of peoples and studied them and have observed them and mimicked them. So where we, in the past would have more understood the connectedness and the law of oneness. So what you do to yourself, what you do to others, you ultimately do to yourself. And so they've mimicked and hijacked them, and so they're very easy spaces to be triggered into. Of course they are, because they've built this space on observing the wants and wills of people to be in groups, to be in unity with one another, to enjoy this connectedness, this telepathy, this strong tribe energy, this creational growth energy. And they've done that by mimicking. It's all mimicry. It's all illusion. So I hope this makes sense. I know it's long-winded, but this is a channeling of mine. This is me just posing questions through the laws laws of the universe, posing questions and waiting for the answer, not even forcing it, just continuing to pose those questions to self, really. Even if it was to be to an empty stage, it would still be putting it out into the ethers rather than putting it directly onto that fire, to become part of those fires that are burning communities down. Communities are doing it to themselves. Parliament can only be in place because enough people below want to still mimic the same systems that they say they're fighting and that are above them, and that are putting them in these positions of fear and control. So it's all a spiral. It's all connected, isn't it? And it just opens your mind up when you sort of stop and sketch it out and pause to think, okay, so how do I move away from that source that makes me uncomfortable, that makes me feel dirty, that makes me feel like I've got to cleanse a lot? And that is, for a lot of us on this middle path, is to take the cleansing rituals very seriously, and do them, practice them regularly with these energies that are squeezing at either side of this middle path. That is a must. A silence, making space to not even be in the line of fire of these squeezes, whether it is turning the internet off to get these people out of these energies, out of your immediate vicinity. But the cleansing is a must. But this is how we progress forward, by applying these laws of the universe to made up laws, to made up societies, groups of power, to made up illusionary numbers, by just building algorithms that will create subs, that will create this authority to, it's a must of how we apply our thoughts to this type of thing, rather than jumping on the fact that, oh, there's the messages, there's the proof I was right. That's to bring down that resonance into the resonance of those messages, with the revelry in somebody being caught out, the humiliation of private messages being shared, but to bring observation to it from a higher source, a higher frequency, a higher vibration, is to shine a light on it, and is to hopefully get enough people raising themselves above it to shine a light on it, to say, yeah, this is ridiculous. We've got these laws of the universe and we're living under a mimicry of them, a distorted mimicry of them at that, made up by some people who just wanted more power and more supremacy, completely made up, completely backed by things that made no sense. Gold that you weren't wearing, you were banking, you weren't getting the connection and frequency from it. You know, you weren't drinking from it, you weren't using it. It wasn't just in the ground, for heaven's sake, you know, where that mineral would be great. It's built on nothing. It's built on nothing. It's an illusion. And to raise yourself above that illusion, sometimes you have to go on a tangent where you just channel the energy and process the thoughts and continuously come back to the law. The law of oneness, the law of everything has a vibration. Everything is moving, everything is changing, but yet the universal laws still apply. They do not limit the potentials, of course not. We see that through the chaos that we're living through right now. But they always somehow, in many ways, apply. And you can use them to raise that resonance and that frequency and that knowing, that feeling of love and bliss rather than hate and abuse. Anyway, much love, balance and wholeness. Share this out. Go and check out Divinity on my Etsy store. The link is in the description under this video. Book in for your reading, your spiritual coaching session, your energy bending session, whatever it might be that might help you, and I can be your guide, your spiritual midwife, so to speak, to help you through any of those processes. Get in touch. But yes, support the produce that are wildcraft, that I nurture, that I put my magic into, and that are very important things for your body right now in particular. Look at that. I'm putting new stuff up all of the time. And also keep an eye out for the website. I'm getting closer. I know I keep saying it, but closer. I'm always getting closer now, rather than having setbacks and me not understanding. It's incremental, but it's that way rather than that way. So keep an eye out for that. I appreciate you all. Some people donated some stuff to me, and you know what? The links are in the description for that. I don't ask for that, but I receive it with such gratitude and such bliss, in order to breathe that right back to you in a way of abundance and bliss and absolute gratitude for you flowing that resource to me. I flow it right back to you with absolute love. Mwah. Thank you. Where is it? It's cursor.